Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coach's Approach podcast, where we take an inside look at the coaching world. As always, I'm your host, George Gresco, and we have a great show for everyone today. Don't forget to check out thecoachesapproach.com. Please follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Today's show is brought to you by Coach's Dry Rub, the All-American Rub, laid on thick until it sticks. Get your own bottle at tombaskitchen.com. Anthony's Family Restaurant in Eastlake on the corner of 91 and Vine Street, where together is our favorite place to be. Open for dine-in, carry-out, and curbside pickup. Last but not least, G&G Printing. Get your custom apparel printed in 7 to 10 days or less. Dominate your design. Today, we go overseas to the German Football League to sit down with the defensive coordinator of the Ravensburg Razorbacks, Coach Wojciech Andrzejczak. Coach, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you having me today.
Oh, absolutely. When you reached out originally, I was like, this has got, we have to get this coach on show just because you're overseas coaching. We're going to talk a lot about that today. But Coach, you have a pretty tough name to say and pronounce. A lot of people call you Coach Voyt.
Yes, sir.
Hence why that's why I named today's episode after it, for those of our listeners wondering. How did you get that nickname, Coach Voyt?
Well, first, let me start this. I'm Polish, so Wojciech is one of those crazy Polish names. Most people, if they're like into sports, there is a famous goalkeeper for our national team of soccer, Wojciech Szczesny. But Wojciech is rather hard name to pronounce. So, like the petite form of that would be Wojtek, and from there, like if you write it phonetically for English speakers, you go with Voyt. There's other person named Adrian Wojnarowski, or how you guys call it, Woj. So that's some people call me Woj. I don't really, it's like whoever you want to call me, Wojtek is fine, Voyt is okay, Woj is fine. So
sure. That's funny. I actually had to look up how to pronounce your name before the show. I just didn't want to screw it up as I'm going through stuff.
As I said, Coach, like it's very, like Polish names are very strong Wi-Fi passwords. So,
Sure.
I think if anybody of our listeners is just looking for one, I highly recommend my first and last name there.
For sure thing. Coach, you have been coaching overseas in Germany for quite some time now. How did you start coaching over there?
Well, so as I said, I started, I'm Polish, so I was actually one of the pioneers of the sport in our country. And we were late to the party because we started in 2005-06. And if that makes sense to our listeners, like we started literally with, first year we only had like mouth guards. So we looked like those, leather heads. 100 years ago. And fast forward a year later, we actually bought like used equipment from Germany and other countries, and we had like our first season with 4 teams of 11 men football, and from there it kind of grew. And at around 2012, I was 28 at the time, and I kind of said, okay, I can no longer compete at the level that I would like to do, and I was actually running my own company. I was like buying some used equipment for the guys to kind of to get them started, because my philosophy at the time was, okay, at that time, what was it, like the Rider Revolution, the Peyton Manning one, it was like the big thing, and it was cost like around $200, but you don't really need like a brand new helmet.
Right.
You know football is for you. And from there, actually, one of the customers, a guy called me out and said, hey, like, we would like to start a team, but we don't have a coach. And I said, okay, I finished playing, and I was, into the X's and O's. It was kind of I was helping out with working with our youth players, with coaching. I was assistant, so I said, okay, let's give it a try. And from there, it kind of give it a shot, and kept doing it. We were like pretty successful in our like first 2 years.
Right.
And at some point I said, okay, I actually had the benefit of knowing English a little bit, and by then, this thing called internet, so it was kind of going up. So if I wanted to learn about, I don't know, like I spoke with other coaches from here, like 20 years or 40 years ago. If you want to learn about the triple option, you gotta hop on a plane, or go and visit Coach X. Now, if you want to learn about I don't know, Iowa State 3 high defense, you open the internet, boom, and you actually the other way around. There's almost like too much information, right?
Yeah, no, Coach, that is crazy. Starting from mouthpieces to where you guys have gotten to now is incredible to me. That is,
I think it's like more and more Americans, and we saw that recently with the NFL bringing the regular season game to Germany, and more
Sure.
and more players going through the either college route or through international pathway, or just transitioning from other sports. Like football is growing and
Right.
becoming more international, so to speak. I always like to say that we're not maybe 30 years behind NBA, but think about the NBA. You have Giannis, you have Luka, you have
Yeah.
Jokic, and hopefully, I'm not saying that okay, we're gonna have a, I don't know, German-born or quarterback in the NFL, but the more and more the game become international, I think it's gonna happen on the it's in everybody's interest, not only us, but also people on Park Avenue 345.
Right. Too funny. Coach, what has there been a learning curve for your players learning the game of football? Like, how is that to coach players that have never played the sport?
Well, so as I said, one of the interesting factors into bringing the popularity of sports was Madden. We had guys who started playing the computer game and says, okay, I play this computer game. I would like to try this sports in real life. But some of these kids, you'll be amazed how much they knew about playbooks, and they'll be on to drawing up being the DC or OC after two practices, but they may not be, for example, that physical. Then
Right.
you had guys who were athletes who used to practice, who used to train soccer or basketball, or sometimes you have a guy from MMA or rugby, and those guys are not good enough to go professionally, and they are looking for, okay, I would like to try something new, and
Right.
somebody may have been to the States, or somebody may have seen a movie, and or a TV series, like the Blue Mountain State, or Friday Night Lights, and all kind of the good stuff.
Right.
For me, I'm not gonna lie, back when I was growing up and I saw remember the Titans, I knew, holy, I
Yeah.
want to try this, I want to try this, and I was fortunate enough that we actually had a team, and as you say, the more athletic kid he is, then if you have multi-sport athlete, then you teach them the fundamentals, and kind of
Yeah.
teach them the techniques, and they pick it up naturally. Then of course there's the whole X and O's part, and on the other side you have those kids who, let's just say, play Madden, who have the intellectual
Right.
knowledge of the
Sure.
game, but they may not be as good athletes, and that's something that across Europe is a big thing, is how we get those top athletes to play American football. Because
Sure.
if you're if you're big and strong, and you may go to the other different sports that guarantee you better prospects of going professionals, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also there's a learning curve, and as I said, definitely new technologies help with that. Those kids that watch either college or NFL game, they picking up, and even here for us in Razorbacks, we just had our team Christmas party, and of course, we had a Madden tournament, so our 12 to 13-year-olds kids, they were just
Love it.
playing Madden and getting better at it. So whether you like it or not, you gotta roll with it, and it's something that you can use to your advantage. I use the Go Army Edge app because
Yep.
it's it helps them translate those two-dimensional diagrams that maybe you and me are more familiar with into those game day or video game reality. And if it's not what I know, it's what they can execute. And if
Sure.
you wanna help them learn the game, that's my job.
Right.
So
Now, Coach, you've coached football here in the U.S. and then there in Germany. What would you say is the biggest differences from football there to football here in the U.S.?
Well, so I was fortunate enough to be on the staff in Clifton High Schools. So Clifton Mustangs High School, 2016, we worked with a little bit of the youth program, and 2019 with Towson, and of course over in Europe, it's not only Germany, it's Denmark, Romania, Poland, even up to as far as China way back when. But I like to say this: there's a huge difference between football twice a week and twice a day. And twice a week, sometimes we have an extra walkthrough, but it's even at the GFL, or even the Austrian league, which is the biggest league, those guys still have their regular jobs, so you got to keep it. This is something that I had to evolve. I want to give them enough, but I don't want to overflow them and overload these guys with
Sure.
information. It's our job as one of the coaches I work for, Coach Buffum, he's very successful living in Switzerland, build a powerhouse there in Calanda Broncos. Like he told me, hey, if you have playlist of 50 plays or 62 plays games, it's your job to find those 10, 12 key plays like an espresso and to give it to those players. What actually matters on game day? Because if I have 2 practices a week that are, let's just say 90 minutes, that leaves me, 15 minutes of indies, maybe 5 minutes to 10 minutes of pre-practice if these guys show up on time. And then, you have those, 7-on-7 or scout where you can actually work a little bit of the hidden indies, but it's like, you got to find the, what really matters on game day. And I think that's the huge difference, to what you said is, some of these guys, they may be in their early 20s and they have been playing football for a year or two. On
Right.
the other hand, and that's why I think, in the countries like Germany or Austria, for a club to participate in the league, they need to have their junior sections and junior, you may have like U13 flag. So
Right.
imagine if the kids start playing flag by tomorrow I'm going to school, we're going to have like, our flag program. Like he starts playing flag when they are like 13, they go through
Right.
U15, U17, U19. Let's just say by the time he's, 19, he has this amount of knowledge and understands the terminology, etc. But that would be one thing. And then the other thing that you have in the States is that, hey, football is your pathway to scholarship and can pay for your education. That's a huge motivation. Now, some of those kids and some of those schools see that, okay, there is like 300 million people there, and some of those are really, big and can move. So, we can scout for talent there as well. But I would say that motivation and dedication to it, it's not to say that European players aren't motivated.
Right.
Is that sometimes, let's just say the high school seniors, right? They know that, hey, I may not go to college. I have 9 games left. I don't want to miss anything.
Right.
Or sometimes here, I think that some of the players are okay. There's a next year, or I cannot make the game because I have, grandma's birthday. And sometimes, like, you have the guys who are very dedicated, who love football, and you have the guys who like football. So
Right.
that's, and both of those are okay. It's just, unless you have guys who are, and by guys, I mean also like players, coaches, also the administration, the management board, that's important. Sure. To have the support. They're on the same page that, hey, we want to do it to the best of our ability. And we are all in. That's what actually, those special places, that's where you can have success, right? So I would say that would be those would be the main differences.
Absolutely. And coach, you mentioned a little bit ago you've coached players in your 20s or in their 20s, and there's coaches or players in their 30s as well. Yep. How do you mentioned too that they're working regular jobs. How do you get players that gel from players that are in their 20s to players that are in their 30s? They're working normal jobs. How do you get a team to come together? Because it's so different.
Well, that's, and I wish I knew that there was a cookie cutter approach, but you want to treat them fairly, and that's my personal philosophy. You can't treat them equally because, for example, you may have a guy who misses a practice because he has to stay with his wife, or he has his dad duties, or he had to go with his daughter to the doctor, and you have a younger guy who says, oh, I just was hangover, or last year when we were in Switzerland, we literally, we would have practices on Thursdays, and if we went, we used to, in the off season, we used to go out and we meet some of our players in the club on Friday and says, hey, why haven't I seen you on? You tell me you have to study, but you're here on Friday night. So,
right.
So what I would say, you want to spend, and that's the key thing, is the time. Like in the US, you have those guys in the building. You can, do stuff together outside of football. Here, I would say every opportunity like that is precious. Sure. So whenever we had, I think that Christmas party we just had was so important, like especially for me being a first-year coach, just to high five with everybody, just to kind of show them, that other side, I'm like not wearing my, hoodie, or, just outside of practice. Also like when we were in Denmark and we had our training camps, we'd always have like a barbecue. And it's not, it's like you can sit there and just, chill out, play those backyard games, cornhole and the other stuff. Like, so you kind of build those chemistry together. Some of it
the chemistry, the team bonding stuff. That's what builds.
It's like the older guys like naturally take the younger guys under their wings, and like sometimes guys can be a little bit of a mentor, not only in football aspects, but also about life. We had guys, for example, who could offer like part-time jobs to the younger guys if they needed some extra money. So you would have that. And what I'm going to say now maybe sounds controversial, but it's like, for example, in Germany or in Denmark, we had this like quote unquote social club to where we would sit with the players and we would have soft drinks, different kinds of soft drinks. You can sit and just talk. And I would say with the guys, and again, there's like, you don't want to do like go over the limit and stuff, but you can drink soda, or some of the guys prefer to have like this proverbial one beer, and literally like one beer. And guys start talking and they open it up. And I think it's so important for me as a coach to sit with those guys and to get to know them better on the human side. And it's something that struck me, this year in my other place in Switzerland, where I kind of like, we were still battling COVID and we kind of didn't have that many opportunities. Yeah. And I'm like, shit, like I wish like, and the guy says, that week 3 game we had and I play like shit, my girlfriend broke with me the night before. And it's like, we're 7 weeks later and I said, shit, why didn't you, come to me that we could have talked? And it's like,
right.
Ultimately I cannot force them to talk with me, but it's like, I say, hey, if you need, my doors are open. But as you say, sometimes you build that chemistry, like doing things outside of football.
Right, absolutely. And coach, every coach has a different coaching style as well, along with building the relationships with players. What would you say your coaching style is, and how do your players adapt to it?
Well, I would say I have to adapt to the players. It's not like, I cannot say I'm like Deion Sanders and I say, hey, I brought luggage with me and it's Louis. I may have a little luggage. It's
right.
I have a I don't fly charter planes. I fly regular. But you have to adapt to your players, and it's like coaching overseas. I think it's like we have to be like we need to have like PhD in adapting, because sometimes you draw a practice plan and all shit like O-line doesn't show up, so that team period you can go 7-on-7, and I would say my coaching style, it's evolving. It's kind of like I'm still trying to learn the local culture and some of those traditions, some of that cultural aspects of the region that I'm in. I would say it's kind of like I really like Ted Lasso, like kind of trying to like use that sense of humor, kind of like you always want to be curious, not judgmental. Like it's sometimes, and in some places you go out there and they you think you're mesh and it's fine, and some places you don't, and then so you move on. But I think it's important to treat people with respect and kind of give them the understanding why we do things the certain way, and especially with the new type of athletes, like you can't just tell them, okay, we're gonna do this because I said so. Is that, hey, we're doing this because, for example, these are the mistakes that happened last year, and we're implementing that, for example, system or that scheme to kind of combat something that we've encountered last year and that we're going to see next year. So and as you say, there has to be that buy-in, that trust, and I think that's critical. So I would say it's you got to evolve, you got to learn your players, and you got to adapt to your players. Like there are some places in Europe where coaches are blessed to kind of like bring their own luggage, or they get the carte blanche and say, okay, I want 20 guys like of the there are like Euro portals, you can say that, and
right.
We gotta and our philosophy is to develop local players. Sure, we may bring a few guys from the States and from Europe, but it's like we want to develop our core of local guys. So
absolutely. Oh, it's crazy. Like I'm like mind blown on some of the things you're saying. But coach, going into your resume, you have coached at many camps, clinics, all-star games. And I'm going to mention this. You've been to the Michigan exposure camp. I'm a huge Michigan fan. Go Blue. So now that they're in the playoffs, I'm rooting for them even more.
Yeah, that's actually a bittersweet moment, because actually I was selected, but I couldn't go there. It's still there. But it's I wish that happened. But as you say, I did some camps and clinics, and I think especially over here, it's a great opportunity to interact with coaches, to exchange ideas. I would say there's not as much mobility as in the States, right? So it's important for us, especially the Euro guys, to kind of like if one of us get the head coaching job, I would say, hey, if you go out to the top floor, send the lift back. And, if I'm, for me being from Poland, I sometimes have to compete with like guy from the States, and it's nothing, against guy from the States, but I have to prove that, okay, even though I'm Polish, even though I may have funny sounding names, I have to be, on point. I have to prove to the players or to the board that, hey, I know American football. So I use, those opportunities to definitely to network, to connect with players, coaches, and, you never know, sometimes you may have an opening to bring a player, and, this is something that actually happened to me, that I got a job because I did a clinic in Warsaw like 3 years ago with Coach Willis, and it's okay, hey, I know you because we did camp together, and, I can trust you. I see a little bit of your work ethics. So I think that's it, and definitely that's something that we missed during the pandemics. Although, we went through this, Zoom clinics. So all of a sudden, you think about it, a guy could sit in a Europe or Germany, Poland, and I could sit in a room with the Nick Sabans or Sean Paytons or other big names, because
Right.
and I think I would wish that some of those events have that hybrid form. Of course, there's the convention within the convention. You sit and have a napkin football with coaches. That there's no substitute for that. But I would say it's sometimes that internet and having those hybrid conversations, that's good.
Right, and especially in the coaching world, you never know who you're going to meet, and you don't know when it's
Yeah.
going to happen. And coaching openings happen all the time. One coach gets fired here, they get hired over here. You just never know.
Yeah, I mean, even over here in Europe, like you'd be surprised. There was a lot of like soccer mentality. There's like sometimes there are revolving doors, and I would say,
Yeah.
for example, when people saw the Utah beating USC, and you think of like Coach Whittingham being then since 2004-5, I'm like, wow, that's 17 years. It's a lot of years in coaching years, right? It's
Absolutely.
even as you say, Coach Harbaugh, right? Like
Yep.
before he had the success last 2 years, they want to run him out of town. So
Yep.
sometimes it takes time. It's
Absolutely. It's definitely not an easy thing to do, is build a program. And if you
no,
do it the right way, it takes, that amount of time. But another thing I found very interesting was you've been a sports analyst for a few different places. How did you become a sports analyst? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. So one thing, when I was at Towson, I was actually visiting my friend Coach Daniels, who was the DC there. And they actually apparently they like my energy. That they asked me to stay and be the like defensive quality control and assistant D-line coach. So I had to learn on the fly and learn that. And then in 20 it was last year when I actually finished my contract in Denmark, and Coach Borsell, at the time he was the director of football research in the University of Akron. He said, okay, my two guys have I have like openings there, like if anybody would be interested in doing this stuff remotely. And I just said, okay, I have some time windows that if I don't know, tagging film from Solid Gold Diggers or Auburn Reed Niners, I may as well do it for y'all and work on the Ohio States or Mac. So I did that, and then this year I saw the opening on the internet, and I went through the recruiting process, and I been working with Adavis this high school and college season. So that was I've been passionate about tackling and kind of like doing this tackling analysis for a couple of years for my teams, but this has been another experience, like another level of learning and seeing the game through a different lens.
Sure.
It's definitely benefited me. And I hope that we're going to continue that relationship as well.
Right. Now, Coach, this next question I have for you is a very simple one. Coach, what is your favorite thing about coaching?
Well, I gotta say, these are the relationships with players and coaches that you build along the way. And it's, maybe the older I get, it's not only about those wins and losses, but sometimes you follow these guys on social media, and you send them the birthday wishes, or just, hey, I'm happy that you, I don't know, passed the your exams, or sometimes you see them later in life as they become husbands and fathers, and you just feel happy for their success, and you want to make sure that you make a little bit of impact, not a lot, but if there's And I always try to highlight to these guys that it's not only, about teaching you the, blocking or tackling safely or, winning, more games than last year. It's teaching you some habits and qualities and, some, yeah, as I said, qualities and, work habits and, teamwork, leadership, etc., that you can carry over to other areas of life and being that extension of classroom. Like here, like the club sports is not as directly connected with the education system. So I would say this and I'm not gonna lie, like football has been good to me and I've been able to see some places that I've never thought that I'm gonna see, thanks to football, like all those places in the States, like even coach when we were Towson, we played at Florida, right? And I'm like all of a sudden I'm a guy from Poland, I'm like, coaching at, or like doing my little stuff there in the box with, at the University of Florida, right? Or that I could go and, see like the Great Wall of China, like even this year when I was in Switzerland, I could, see some amazing, nature landscapes. And, I would say, I've never thought that I'll be able to do that. But,
Right.
football has given me that
And
opportunity.
we say that all the time here. We use football as a platform to build us up higher and higher. Even our players you mentioned earlier in the episode, we use football as a platform to get that scholarship, that college education, and so on and so forth, and get into the workforce. So yeah, it's all about building, that resume at the end of the day. But coach, this next segment is brought to you by Anthony's Family Restaurant. We've hit the point of the show for Rapid Fire 7. I'm going to ask you 7 completely random questions that I haven't even seen yet. I'm going to flip the paper over here in a minute. But, Coach, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
I'll say these could be anything and anything. So, all right, question number 1. What is your favorite pregame song or music?
I'll probably go with the Gladiator theme, the battle
Okay,
from Hans
there you
Zimmer.
go. There you go. What is something that you're afraid of?
Oh, that's a good one. Spiders. Spiders. I'm
Spiders,
afraid of
there you go.
spiders.
I was gonna say I'm so fascinated by snakes, but I don't want to be anywhere by near them.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had one wish, what would you wish for?
Oh God. Well, it may not. I wish that it was peace in Ukraine. That like stop
Yeah.
the war there, and our like friends who used to play American football now they have to switch their helmets for like combat helmets and combat gear.
Wow.
So I could wish for
No,
shout
absolutely.
out to those guys. It'll be
For sure. For sure.
it'll be
Keep battling and keep fighting. And
I'm sorry to go there, but it's again, if we're
no, it's
talking, want to support these guys, 'cause
absolutely.
crazy, it's like some stuff that we thought that we're only gonna see in the history books. Now it's fucking, you see it on the news. I'm sorry for the French, by the way.
No, you're good. uh, who would win in a coaching battle? Bill Belichick or Vince Lombardi?
That's a good one. Hey, I gotta go with Coach Belichick. I think
Yeah,
he
he's
has
one of
something
my
up
favorite.
in his sleeve
He's one of
there.
my favorites of all time. So,
Yeah.
what is your favorite German food?
Well, I gotta go with like the Schweinsschnitzel, so this is like the pork chops,
Oh
like
yeah,
this is it's traditional. Like I'm from Western Poland, so it's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of home as well. So it's
no,
gotta go with
absolutely.
that. So whenever you guys go here, we gotta go for the Schnitzel.
Absolutely. Who is your favorite superhero?
Oh, shoot, let's go Tony Stark, let's go Iron Man, like
Yeah,
that's
Iron Man. There you go. And then last question. Going back to being 5 years old, what cartoon would you be watching?
5 years old. So that would be 1989. So we didn't have Disney yet, or like,
Okay.
it was like early
Sure.
90s. That would be, so if I tell you like, our traditional like Polish, like Reksho and Bolek, like you don't know them. But I would
Right.
say like, and those like, I would say like those late 80s to early 90s, we started having like the Donald Ducks, I started
Oh yeah.
having Bugs Bunny and etc. there. So it was like that era when I was growing up, it was some of the traditional like Polish cartoons and
Sure.
like some of those like Disney and and the
Right.
Warner Brothers, etc.
Sure.
I think that one of those, I was a little bit older, but I love the Animaniacs and the, what's his name, the Tasmanian Devil,
Yeah.
that's
Oh yeah. Too funny. That's always a fun segment of the show. Always
yeah,
interesting
enjoyed it.
questions. Always interesting questions, interesting answers. You never know what's going to pop
Yes,
up.
sir. Yes, sir.
Coach, as we near the end of the show, I always ask this question every coach that comes on the show. Who is Coach Wojciech Andrzejczak for the listeners and viewers who might not know you? Who is Coach Voyt?
Yeah, I'm just a guy from Poland who wanted to, have some impact on young people's lives through the game of football. Bad golfer, probably a guy that needs to shed a few pounds to get in that linebacking shape.
Hey, we all need to
Linebacking
shed a
coaching
few.
shape.
Don't
I
worry.
know, I know. Yeah, I would say those. I'm trying to not to take myself too seriously. At the end of the day, we're not brain surgeons. It's just football. And as I said, we're especially those last 3 years, we are. If my biggest problem in life is that we just get burned over the top on the 60-yard touchdown, we're in a good spot. And if we're lucky to have jobs to coach ball and kind of discuss those would be it. But I'm
Oh,
trying
that's
to
awesome.
make my parents proud.
Yeah. But Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show and taking some time out of your day. I know it's midnight there right now.
Hey,
It's
it's
only six. It's only
it's football
6:30
season.
here. So,
It's
but I
football
appreciate
season.
you coming on.
It's yeah. I don't have to wake up tomorrow, but yeah, I appreciate you having me. I hope that you know I hope that our listeners like it. They want to follow me at Coach Vote on Twitter or Instagram. I definitely will give you a shout out and share this episode. So once again, thank you, George, for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go Razorbacks.
Coach, once again, thanks again. But that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the Coach's Approach podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Also, check out thecoachesapproach.com for tonight's episode. But I'm your host, George Gresco, and we'll see you guys later.